Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC on ESPN 12, Poirier versus Hooker. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the main card. So for this fight card, or for this main card, I'm only saying 4 fights on the main card. So just because it's 4, I'm only going to predict 4 for this video. Any other fight that's on this card will be in the prelim prediction video. So it's just 4, so I'll just predict 4 for the main card. So in our first fight, we have in the heavyweight division, John Villante versus Maurice Greene. So look at this fight right here. John Villante is a long-time light heavyweight fighter. I think he might have had like a 1 or 2 heavyweight fights in the past, but he's definitely wasn't a heavyweight fighter originally. He's known as a light heavyweight. So he's coming up to 265 or to the heavyweight division to fight Maurice Greene. Maurice Greene is still pretty green as far as his UFC career. I think he's 1-1 or like 2-1. Was on the Ultimate Fighter, so not the most experienced heavyweight in the heavyweight division. But I don't really think it matters all that much. I think he'll have the height. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5". Villante like 6'1", 6'2". Not probably like 6'1". So he'll have a significant height advantage and a significant reach over Villante. And Villante does have some wrestling in spurts, but not the best wrestler. But he doesn't have the best cardio either. So maybe at heavyweight he'll have better cardio. He'll definitely probably pack a little bit more power, and he already was a heavy hitter at light heavyweight. But I don't really think heavyweight does the best for him, because it's not like he's coming up and being so much more of a technical fighter, or he'll have such a speed advantage. All he'll be going against is bigger guys with more power. He'll be a little bit faster than them, maybe a slight smidgen more technical. Probably not even that, because the better heavyweight's still more technical than him. So going up is not the biggest advantage for him anyway. It might give him a little bit more leeway to try to find maybe some fights that he can win, but I don't think it's the best move for him. So going against Maurice Greene will be the better striker. In my opinion, he came from a striking background. I think he fought in Glory at least a couple times. So that's just another note. Just fighting in Glory don't mean you're a better striker, but I think in the fights it shows more versatile, changes combos. I mean, his combos together better. But to get to the point, I think John Villante might be good early on or have some success early on, but I think as he slows down, Maurice Greene starts to pick him apart, and I think he puts him out, and I think it's in that late stage of the second round. So in this fight, I got Maurice Greene via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the middleweight division, Brendan Allen versus Gall. So Gall is coming to UFC. He's like 6'2"-ish, and I think Brendan Allen's 6'1". Gall has a build like an irregular Titan. Like he's tall and lanky, but his body's kind of wide. Like his torso's kind of wide. And he got skinny arms, like skinny long arms. And he got kind of fat, but thin leg. Like he looks very weird built. And he got some weird shoulders and a weird neck and a weird face. So he looked like a regular Titan. If you ever watched Attack on Titan, that's how he built. But that's besides the point. But when I look at Gall, the good thing about him is that he's aggressive with his submissions. He come out there. His striking isn't the best, but he's aggressive with it, and he's aggressive with his whole style. And he will attack, go for the finish, whether it be on the feet or on the ground. Like I said, his striking isn't the best. I actually seen him fighting against a journeyman Can that had him hurt, had him falling off his feet. I forget who his name was, but like some African fighter that was destroying him on the feet at one point. But then he was able to go back, recover, and get the submission. So that definitely says something about his striking. Well, anybody could be caught, but regardless, you shouldn't be getting caught at that level. By the way, aggressive with the submissions. He's long. He'll use those limbs. He'll attack submissions, whether it be on the bottom or top, and he's never going to allow you to just be rest around him. But looking at him versus Brendan Allen, also looking at Gall, I think the only good fighter he really beat was a fighter that was a former UFC fighter that did only what? I don't even think got a win inside of you. Nah, I think he got one win inside of UFC. Nah, matter of fact, no, he probably didn't even get a single win in the UFC. And that guy was a welterweight, and it's probably a smaller welterweight that could have been a lightweight. So in that fight, he just had size and weight and reach and all the stuff over that fighter. So the only really decent fighter he's beaten, in my opinion, was a fighter that was way bigger than, and actually didn't have that much success inside of UFC. Now he's going against Brendan Allen, a fighter who's fought in several fighters that have gone on to have success in the UFC and has gotten some 2 big wins inside of UFC. When I look at Brendan Allen, I see he's not as aggressive with his submissions as Daukaus. I think he's more of a position over submission type fighter, but he will get those submissions. He's not giving up as much height. He only giving like an inch in height. So despite how long Daukaus looking, how long he kind of does these punches, and kind of how, they long but sloppy sometimes, but whatever the case is. I just think, to get to the point, I think Brendan Allen is just a cleaner fighter. Like, they kind of have similar styles. Like I said, Daukaus a little bit more aggressive. He fights a little bit more long. But I think Brendan Allen packs more power behind his punches. He's a little bit more dense in his muscle mass. I think his grappling is much, his takedown and wrestling is much better than Daukaus. I think Daukaus' jiu-jitsu may be a smidgen better, but Allen's overall MMA game is much better. His wrestling is much better. His striking is much better. And I think he packs more power behind his punches. I think that's really what's going to come down. It's like doing similar things, but Allen having that strength advantage and that experience advantage. I think he'll be at that wrestling advantage. I think he'll be able to be the one to put the fight where it needs to go. I think he'll be able to hurt Daukaus on the feet if it's on the feet long enough. I think he can mix in takedowns and control Daukaus on the ground, land some ground and pound. It's really just be the big brother him out there. But still see it as a competitive fight. Like I said, Daukaus is not a fighter that's going to go out there easy. He's going to go out there, he's going to be fighting from the bottom or the top. He's going to make you have to, be in a fight. But I think Bernal is just better at this point. Overall, he's just a better fighter, and I think that's what's going to show. So see him going out there, putting it on him, taking him down, and just pretty much beating him in every area. I think he gets a mid-round, third-round submission. So in this fight, I got Brendan Allen via third-round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Mike Perry versus Mickey Gall. So look at this fight right here. I'm not getting into height. I'm not getting into reach and none of that stuff we're here. I don't think it really matters too much in this fight. I think Mickey Gall is the longer fighter. He's the younger fighter. But his striking is not really all that. He doesn't really pack the most power at all. I mean, everybody can catch you with a punch, so you got to respect it somewhat. But when you look at Mickey Gall, you're not really scared of his striking. But respect it, so you don't get caught with that one shot, then you're looking bad. But other than that, his striking really not much of anything. He's definitely improving on his last fight against Salim Tohari. His striking looked somewhat clean, but that wasn't the highest level of UFC fighter. It was kind of a guy that just only came into UFC, so around the level he should be fighting. Now he's fighting Mike Perry, who maybe not an upper echelon welterweight, but he's a guy that can go out there and have fights with upper echelon fighters and hold his own. And actually was in a competitive fight with several top echelon welterweights. So. But besides the point. So when I look at this fight, it's really a striker versus a grappler. And it's a fighter that has more experience and has fought higher level competition versus a guy, Mickey Gall, who kind of, been around the little entry level fighters, or not entry level, but like maybe the lower tier of the welterweight division. Like they're building him up. Now he's kind of jumping. Like he went from fighting with Salim Tari and there was a Diego Sanchez. Well, Diego Sanchez is a fighter that been around, and been up at the upper echelons and got title shots, but at the point for Diego Sanchez was like, at this point where he's not really a true contender. For CM Punk and who else he fought? Randy Brown, and Sage Norca. So he fought these guys like a lot of contender series level fighters outside of Diego Sanchez. And now he's jumping up to fight CM Punk. So that's like, what that really even say? But how I see this fight, I think Mickey Gall, a solid fighter. He has some decent takedown offense. Solid grappler. He'll definitely have the grappling advantage, so it's definitely a striker versus grappler matchup. But going into this fight, what I think Mickey Gall would need is to have better wrestling offense, ability to get the fight to the ground, and has shown me better striking than he has shown me. And I don't think with Mike Perry's takedown offense, it's very hard to take him down. Even higher level fighters with better wrestling than Gall, like much better wrestling than Gall, have struggled to take Mike Perry down. Matter of fact, haven't been able to get Mike Perry down. So I see Mickey Gall struggling to get the fight to the ground. I don't see him getting the fight to the ground. And if he does, I think it's more so like one of those takedowns where what's name just pops back, or Mike Perry just pops back up. It doesn't really probably even get scored as a takedown. On the feet, I think Mike Perry just has his way with Mickey Gall, just boxes him up and then puts him out of there. I think it's in the second round. So in this fight, I got Mike Perry via second round TKO. Now to our main event, we have in the lightweight division, Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. So this is looking like a title eliminator fight. Well, maybe for Dan Hooker, because Dustin Poirier is coming off a loss to Khabib. I don't know why I had to think about that, but he's coming off a loss to Khabib, the current champion. But if Justin Gaethje goes out there and stops or beats Khabib, then it could be a number one contender fight for him. But if Khabib wins, then I think he still needs like 2 more wins after this if he does win this fight. But yeah, it's definitely looking like it could be a number one contender fight for Dan Hooker though, regardless of what happens. So look at this fight right here. So it's kind of like a boxer versus a kickboxer. That's a full MMA matchup. Both these guys can submit you. Both these guys can knock you out, and both these guys can win the decision. Both guys are technical. They're more than just power or this flash. There's technique. There's big wins on their resume. Their experience. They're proven. So like they got the power. I mean, they got the striking, the finishing ability, the skills, the whereabout. They got it all. But in terms of styles of striking, Dan Hooker is the longer fighter, and he fights like a kickboxer. And Dustin Poirier is a shorter fighter, but he fights his style is more of a boxing style. It's an MMA style, but it's a boxing style. And how I see this fight right here. So Dustin Poirier, well, I really think the biggest factor is their styles and the reach. The reach is always a big factor when you got a real skilled, longer fighter. So Dustin Poirier, when I look at his career, he has never really fought a longer fighter, especially not a fighter that this good and long, or this fast and long. He usually fighting guys around his height, or maybe a little bit taller, but never really fighting guys that's really just on the opposite side of the height equation. I think Dustin Poirier is like 5'8", and Dan Hooker is like 6 feet 6'1", so it'll be a significant height advantage. I think Dan Hooker will look to utilize that. You might say, what's his name? Paul Felder was able to get to Hooker, but when I let's say and he didn't really even get to Hooker till later on as the fight went on. Like as the fight went on, that distance started to get further, like me, get closer and closer. Like at first, Dan Hooker was just kicking his legs out of him, just picking him apart, and it really was just target practice. And then as the fight went on, then Felder started to get closer to him. But I think one of the reasons why Felder was able to get closer to him is because Felder has much better kicks, or at least more tools and longer tools than Poirier. Poirier is not really known for having the best kicks to the leg or the best kicks to the body. He's best known for his hands. He does got good kicks. He does got good wrestling. Does got good jiu-jitsu. But his kicks, yes, they are decent, but there's not really nothing to write home about. So Dustin Poirier, I'll see him a hard time landing those kicks. I think he can land some body shots if he mixes them in and well or time them well. But I think Dan Hooker also has some counters to those body shots of Poirier if he tries to go to the body. Like, he can definitely catch him with that knee to the chin. You definitely have him on the front kicks. And another thing about Poirier that I noticed that was a weakness is that in like two of his fights with Gaethje and Jim Miller, 2 fights that he won, but I didn't see the best reaction to leg kicks. I saw him limping after the Gaethje fight. In the Gaethje fight, he was able to get the finish, but still was limping. Still was having difficulties with it. And that really in that Gaethje fight, the pace was really starting to slide away from him. Then he was able to bite on his mouthpiece and dig back and just put the fight away. Like at first, he was winning. Gaethje was taking all these shots and just rolling with them, or even just blocking them, and was kept going for the leg. Then Poirier was limping, and then the pace started to go. The momentum started to slide to Gaethje, and then just as the momentum was changing, I think Poirier caught him with a counter, and then just followed up on and stayed on him and put him away. But momentum was slipping away from him. And again, the Jim Miller fight, the fight was mostly on his side against Jim Miller. I don't think Jim Miller won a single round. But really, at that pace of the fight, it was really no point where Poirier was close to putting Jim Miller away. Yes, he was outlanding him. Yes, he was beating him in the MMA actual match, as far as the game part of it. But as far as the actual fight, yes, he was outlanding. But who was landing the most significant damage was Jim Miller, because after the fight, I think Poirier was having difficulty standing on the leg, had to be carried out. Had to be on both his some of his coach's arms and limped out of the ring because those leg kicks were tearing him up. So I haven't seen the best reaction to leg kicks. I think Dan Hooker's gonna definitely target those legs. So really, that's what I see is if Hooker's to win, I see him being long, chewing the legs up, mixing some jabs. And when Poirier tries to counter, I know Poirier's gonna want to counter. He might try to throw off some of Poirier's counters by throwing that knee out there, make him have to think about that if he's gonna try to come with a counter. Or try to come in or rush in, that knee's going to be in his face. Or at least it's going to be shown to him so that he has to respect it. And, have to approach it. He can't just approach it this thing all I do is worry about is getting by his fist. Or just his kicks. And then you got to worry about those knees too. But like I said, that's what Hooker's going to do. Kicks, put that knee in his face or make him think about it. Chew up the leg and use distance. And I think he can have a very good success doing that. Poirier to win, I think one of his best routes is later, because when Hooker gets tired, his reflex a little bit slower, his hands drop a little bit. That's how Felder was able to get in on the inside. And then he starts going straight back when he gets tired. And then that's when you can come over top and you can catch him, you can put him out. And you can start really getting those spots combos off. And I feel like that's what Poirier's going to have his success. I don't think Poirier can have the best success with wrestling because of how long Hooker is and how good his counter wrestling is and wrestling defense is. So people talking about, his grappling's better, but how is he going to get him to the ground? Only way he gets him to the ground if he hurts him really. I think Poirier's wrestling is decent, but it's not good enough for him to have great success against Hooker, take him down. But that's it. But so Poirier's best chance is take him late, or whether he gets the perfect counter early on, or maybe he just pressures in, lands that good shot, but I didn't really be able to take him into deep waters, push him back, and catch him over the top when those hands start to drop. But what I really see happen in this fight is the first thing. I see Dan Hooker chewing up his legs from a distance, put it on him over the course of rounds. I think Poirier will have his moments, but I don't think he has the feet to really get in on the inside on Hooker enough to land those shots early. I think by the time the fight gets later on, he might have that glimpse of hope. But anytime you're banking for that last minute home run or those late rounds, whole round runs, it's not the best thing to bank on. Like, it can happen, but I really think by that point, Hooker's damage will be done. Poirier won't have the strength in his legs, and, you know, power comes from the legs. And when you get your legs chewed up early on in the fight, getting picked apart, or at least, you know, on the wrong side of the equation of strike differential early on for the first 3 rounds, I think it's going to be an uphill battle, and I don't think he's going to be able to pull it away in the later round. I see Hooker actually put him away in the 4th round when Poirier tried to look for that finish in the 4th round, tries to, you know, make up for the first 3 rounds and tries to rally. I think that's the perfect time for Hooker to counter him, probably a knee to the face, and then start putting the volume on him and puts him away, and I think it's in the 4th round. So in this fight, I got Dan Hooker via 4th round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC on ESPN 12, Poirier versus Hooker. And as always, thanks for watching.